Watch this. No way!
Hello and welcome back to the Cookie Jar Golf Podcast.
Yeah, I like it. Keep going.
I'm your host, Bruce Fitzpatrick, and today I'm joined by Tom Mills
Hello.
and Sam Williams.
Greetings, guys. How are we doing? This is really weird.
This is weird, isn't it? But we're going to roll with it.
I think this is great. Let's just get rolling with it.
Tom, I got your seal of approval. I paused halfway through. You let me run with it. So, how are we all? This is a very, very unique podcast. I think we should just, prime our listeners for the sort of logistical hurdle that we've had to overcome here. Tom?
Yeah. Well, in true cookie jar fashion, we are podding live. Or at least two of us podding live. Sam's not live.
I'm still here live at the same time. You're just both in the same room as each other.
Yes. We're going socially distanced, of course. We are up at St Andrews in Cookie Jar HQ, having to do a little bit of work with Carnoustie, but managed to play a bit of golf today, didn't we, Brucey?
We did indeed, yep. So 2/3 of the jar are north of the border yet again. And Sam is just holding down base in Bromsgrove.
Just making sure everything is ticking along.
Just managing the social media account and just covering the fan mail. So talk me through it, boys. You've had a little dry. We're obviously going to talk about Scottish Open and Royal St George's in a second, but just run me through your day's events. You've driven up there and you've squeezed a little bit of golf in today.
Yep, we set off about 9:30, fairly sociable hour, didn't we? It wasn't anything crazy in preparation for some
lunch?
filming. T-Bay, so yeah.
T-Bay brunch, I would say.
Yeah, I've not had a T-Bay sausage roll before, and Mills was adamant that I try it. And yeah, I mean, good, like very, very good quality sausage roll.
I mean,
£3.95 or whatever it is.
The official, unofficial again, T-Bay.
Yeah.
Ready to spank us for £1.50 a litre petrol. And
God, it was dreadfully busy, wasn't it, when we got there? It was dreadfully busy. And this is probably the last thing that people want to hear who are football fans on a golf podcast, but obviously
it's
recording this now. We're recording this now on Monday the 12th of July.
Ever again.
Yeah.
Carry on, Bruce.
Recorded this on Monday the 12th of July. Obviously, England sadly just went down on penalties last night. And oh, my word. I mean, you could absolutely sense that in T-Bay services, just the sort of low mood and just general angst. Yeah, it was just like, oh my word. I mean, we were going to, sit in and just kind of stretch the legs, change the scenery. We were like, yeah, let's just get these sausage rolls and overpriced lattes and just get out of here as quickly
before
as
we have to commit suicide like everybody else.
I think I love football, but I just find just like any football fan listening to us gnaws on about golf, and I find it irritating.
Hang on, can we just have a moment for you saying you love football? I don't think any of us have ever watched any football in our lives.
I watched it last night, to be fair. I watched the game.
Yeah, I watched it. And anyway, let's move on from it. But I think sometimes football just seems to strike a slightly different chord in people's hearts, doesn't it?
Anyway, from one disappointment to another.
Yes.
From one disappointment to the next. Go on.
I was determined on the way up to find out where all the anti-hype is about of the Castle course.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone gave me a bashing.
I spoke to you, didn't I, probably a few hours ago, and you were zoning in on it. So you were,
and I think
you were there in an hour. And I think, I mean, full disclosure, a few people say, "Oh, is the Cookie Jar podcast? Can it be a little bit overly gushing, a bit overly positive at times?" And I sort of said, well, we're not really in the business of bagging golf courses. I think golf courses are good on the whole, and we choose to play golf at good places that we enjoy. So it's like, I don't think it needs to be overly negative, even though the Castle course does get a bad rap, I think.
But before we get into that, I think just an important point of context, really, for those of our listeners who perhaps don't know the kind of background to the bashing of the Castle course. I guess, is it fair to say it maybe starts with Doak's confidential guide in some form or another?
Yeah, 100%.
And he basically says the Castle course is a 0. Is it out of 10? The Doak confidential scales out of 10. He says the Castle course is a 0, which is a pretty outrageous score to give it, I think. I mean, it's well known, I guess, amongst with you two that we've all come to the the appreciation of golf course architecture and the history of golf courses a little bit later in our golfing careers, certainly over the last maybe 18 months, 2 years, a little bit beyond that. And so for me, having played the Castle course a lot when I was at uni and enjoyed playing it, I sort of saw that comment whenever it was we started getting into this podcast 18 months or so, and was like, well, that is a very, very harsh mark from Tom Doak. Like, that doesn't seem fair. And I guess I was going back there today thinking, well, maybe I can scrutinise this a bit better now that I've embraced sort of woke architecture or woke-tecture or whatever you want to call it. And Mills, you were going there thinking, yeah, I'm quite interested to see what a course that's a 0 on that scale really looks like.
Especially a course that is, let's face it, is as prestigious as the Castle. Because it's not like...
It's top 100 in the UK.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's top 100.
And for someone, and for lots of people to take so much aim at it, you know, like, I genuinely went in there kind of knowing what it was going to be like. I've heard the greens are insane, and you know, I kind of knew
they're a bit tricked up, aren't they? They're very undulated.
Yeah.
And Sam, you've played it before.
Probably a bit OTT.
You've played it
but the
before.
holes are good. I mean, I've played it a few times. I think the holes are good individually they're good. There's probably it feels a little bit like there's a lot going on. It's maximalism, isn't it? But I think it's a very nice place to go and play golf. I wouldn't say it's. I mean, it's not in the league of a Kings Barnes for that, which is really what I think the Castle's trying to aspiring to be in terms of that kind of new build, you know, great vistas, you know, mentally playable for the higher handicapper. It doesn't tick those boxes into anything like Kings Barnes. But I think it's quite a nice, enjoyable place to play your golf. I wouldn't say it's a disastrous course. It's really enjoyable. It's lovely views. It's got some really good things going for it. But it sounds like you guys have had a pretty dire experience there.
So we set the scene. We had 6.5 hour drive up. It's nice, isn't it? When you kind of get on tour, just stretch the legs, go and play a few holes. And we booked in, paid a green fee. Had the kind of, is it the Har, the infamous sort of Scottish Har? Is that Scandinavian or Swedish, whatever, for a old man's wispy beard? I think I'm right in saying.
Serious.
And
sea
so,
mist.
yeah, really sort of funny kind of sea mist coming in, but still quite mild. Thought, yep, let's get out and play. And yeah, I'll stand by my earlier comments. I think it is good fun. It's a nice layout, but I can see why Doak has absolutely eviscerated it in his rankings. Because as you say there, Sam, the sea vistas, the views, the land are fantastic. It's in the home of golf, you know, so by definition, it's affiliated with the most famous golf course in the world. And it's a good golf course. Dare I say it's probably worth being in the top 100 in the UK and Ireland. But for that quality and the natural sort of the raw materials that you have there, I think they've really, really let the side down, because that could be one of the best golf courses in the world. And the greens today were like, I think it's fair to say they're the worst we played on all year by a country mile. Like, just disease, the angel, what they call fairy circles all over the place on top of that as well, Fusarian, and just like really uninspiring kind of visit, I would say. I would sum it up.
Here's my 2 penneth. I believe it's gotten a 0 from Doak because it just absolutely did not fulfill what it could have been. Like, it could have been great. Like, it is a good golf course. There is no getting around that. The individual holes are interesting. They're fun. It's a good match play golf course. But it is just silly. Like, it's Mickey Mouse stuff when you get to the green. It's just not playable. You wouldn't want to play a medal round there at all. You know, I'd play match play there all day. It'd be good fun. But what that course could have been, with a bit more attention and a bit more thought, is absolutely staggering. And I think that's why they've taken aim at it. And like you said, we had a particularly bad time of it with the state of the greens. And the worst bit about that is when we ordered and booked in, and this goes for any golfer, I believe, that books into any round of golf, they should be telling you if the greens are diseased, like when you book. You know, they should tell you before you go there, so at least you have an option to not play it. You know, if they'd have said, "Oh, that's great, Mr. Cookie Jar, but just want to let you know the greens we've had a big bout of disease," and you're like, "Okay, thank you for telling me."
Yeah, expect
I'll
your
go
balls to be
somewhere else
to
airborne
cookie jar
on
when
the
you
putting
turn up, are
surfaces.
But you
They're
know,
not
or
calling
Mr.
you Mr.
Fitzpatrick or
Cookie
Mr.
Jar.
Mills or whatever.
Yeah. No,
You just
do.
expect to be informed. You don't want to find out on the first green because that's just disappointing.
Yeah.
It's not a cheap course to play, is it? £125 or whatever it is, peak rate. You know, is it impacted because they haven't got the throughput of the Americans and the tourists? And you know, obviously the local links ticket holders that are going to be playing the links, most of them are going to be playing the new, the Jubilee, the Eden, the old, etc. So, you know, I kind of get it. Stand by. I think, you know, it's an all right golf course. I think zero is probably a bit rich from
Yeah, it is.
Doak. I think
It's just taking.
you know, which is not a bad segue into Renaissance, which obviously, you know, it's, you know, again, as a new build links, I think Renaissance is in a different league to Castle, in some respects, but you know, it does have pretty quirky and funky greens as well. So Scottish Open,
Yeah.
what have you got?
Yeah. Did you guys catch much of it? I mean, I was pretty shocked and really like pleasantly surprised at how strong the field was this year after.
Could you follow the
back in
routing?
Yeah. So on the Golf Club Atlas,
I couldn't get that at all. I was still confused even after 4 days.
if any of you are into Golf Club Atlas, if you're not, it's a really good sort of forum that lots of knowledgeable people add lots of knowledgeable things, and then lots of argumentative people argue those things. But on there, Tom Doak actually just put out the routing and why they'd routed it the way they routed it. So it's nothing like the routing that the member would play. The first 6 holes were the same. Then it starts to go crazy. And the reason they've kind of done it that way is they wanted to be able to develop a 2T start with both 10 and 1 starting at the clubhouse. And the important part is neither of them starting with a par 3, which is why they developed that routing.
Got it.
It is on Golf Club Atlas what the routing was compared to the members one. Doak's quite active on there, and he laid out what the routing was. He also was like, this was back on Wednesday or Thursday, and he was like, yeah, the score is going to be insane because it's been so heavy rain. There's no wind. These boys are just going to take aim, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, 18 under is a big score, isn't it? 3 players.
Not
at 18.
insane.
It's kind of consistent, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's pretty consistent for Scottish Open
It's
scoring.
been 20 odd in the past.
Yeah.
I think if you keep it below a 2, that's respectable, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, links golf is not designed for no wind and soft greens, which is what Renaissance had. And
Would you say Renaissance is links? That's an interesting debate in itself, but let's not go down that rabbit hole just yet. Let's resist the temptation.
okay, let's do that.
But you're right. I think, you know, softer does make it less enjoyable to watch for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's front foot golf. You got to be aware you're tuning in to watch front foot golf there, where it's like you're seeing who can go and shoot the lowest number on that day. Or that's a silly way of putting it, but who can go and like fire off deep. A load of birdies rather than play, you know, good strategic golf and pick off birdies, you know, at the opportune moment. It's like, no, you just got to go out all guns blazing and try and shoot 61.
Before we fire in on the final score, though, I think we've skimmed past probably the boldest move from a spectator in the history of sport.
Absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, I couldn't believe it when you sent that video through on the WhatsApp group.
Did you catch this,
now.
Sam? The spectator playing around with McIlroy's clubs?
It was one of the most remarkable things I've seen. But here's an interesting one. If that had happened to, I don't know, Richie Ramsey in the first round, would he have got any airtime at all?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think he would have.
Absolutely would have. I think, yeah, it was just amazing to see how, like, he's gone for the driver. The head cover's obviously a bit loose or something and it's come off. Harry Diamond and Rory, and I think Rahm have all just like looked at each other like, what is going on? Then he's come back for the wedge, taken that as well, and they've still sort of just allowed him to kind of make off with it, really. There is a good few seconds that go by there, and I'm just thinking, Steve Williams on Tiger Woods' bag 10 odd years ago, that bloke would have been laid out like before he'd even got the head cover off the driver.
Oh, you'd be like taking a shot at the president, wouldn't it? It'd be
just
like
been uppercutted.
Forearm over the throat straight away.
Yeah. No, I mean, very, very just crazy to see the shot. I mean, you would be in shock, wouldn't you, if you live in this sort of very insular, protected bubble, as I guess tour players and particularly the best players in the world do, just to see a spectator get that close and, you know, take a head cover and a sand wedge. But yeah.
But what's the end goal? Like to show his mates he can grab Rory's club? I'm assuming he's been lobbed out of the venue like straight away. But
yeah, Rory said that he'd been drinking a lot. I think there's been some stuff that has come to light, said he might have some learning disabilities and some, you know, maybe some mental health issues there. Don't know. Haven't got a clue, to be honest with you. Was quite a bizarre thing to watch. Some things are like laugh out loud funny. That was just quite surreal watching.
It's very peculiar.
But yeah, very odd. I mean, in terms of the event, I thought it was good. It was so bizarre having that rain delay, wasn't it? And seeing people like Matt Fitzpatrick and Ian Poulter who had tickets to the game, who were itching to get down there, which is a decent journey, and they were absolutely chomping to get away and had to go back out and do it. And poor old Matt Fitzpatrick gets in a playoff and then loses to birdie on the first playoff hole. I mean, that's got to hurt.
Poulter went
I
deep,
thought there was some
didn't
quite good performances there, weren't there? I mean, Fitzpatrick, you know, possibly peaking at the right time. Does Rawson Georges feel like a course that he could go well round? I thought Rahm on I think it was the Friday and a bit of the Saturday. I think Friday he went out absolutely lights out. He looked completely unstoppable. But like you say, Bruce, it was a bit more target golf, wasn't it? Perhaps it'll be a little bit wetter up there than this week down in Sandwich.
Will it? Yeah, I don't know. I'm keen to. I really haven't been paying that close attention to it, but whether we can expect similar scoring at Royal St George's. It is a tougher golf course than Renaissance, but equally, if it's wet, like, it's still going to be an absolute birdie fest, isn't it? Regardless of it being a major.
Win, don't they? Obviously, I mean, the pod we just dropped with, you know, Paul Larson. I was listening to that this morning, and you know, he's like, it's always windy. You know, hopefully there's a decent bit of gust up there that makes it tricky for them. I don't think you're going to see 19, 20 under win the Open. Be my best guess. Like, I just can't imagine it. It's going to be lush and juicy, whereas Renaissance looks like they do quite a bit of work in terms of rough management, really thinning it out because, you know, clearly they've got a big kind of commitment to their members who need to be able to get around that course and enjoy it. But yeah, I thought, you know, Scottish Open was quite good fun. It was nice watching it. It was certainly cool having played it and done the film there last year. I don't know what you guys thought. I thought that was pretty sweet. I had a headache watching it, just trying to get my head around the routing. But
I did too. That was annoying, not knowing like which hole they were on. But yeah, I got to be honest, really happy to see Minwoo Lee win. I think he's like.
Did you know that was Minjee Lee's brother?
Yes, yeah.
I did not know that.
No, they are related. They're a pretty awesome brother-sister combo. But yeah, he's been, I guess, on the radar for a while, really. People who follow amateur golf and up-and-coming, you know, hot shots. Is he only 22? Maybe not even that.
Yeah.
Might be younger than that. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, like, known for just being a prodigious talent physically. I mean, hits the ball a mile and certainly has like a load more speed to burn if he needs it. So
didn't I guess quite cool. Mixed event thing
yeah. So he won the ISPS Hander at the Vic.
Yeah,
where
that was when he hit that 2-iron about 380, wasn't it?
Yeah. So quite a character. Obviously, a lot of charisma and. Obviously gets an open spot as well now, so he'll be heading down to George's along with Thomas Dietrich and Jack Senior too. So
yeah, well, what's the thoughts going into the Open, guys? Because I mean, the last 24 hours, the change in the field is like crazy.
So Bruce and I have been
draws coming in.
We were obviously in the car doing a long journey today, and Sam was like, "You just can't believe who's dropping out." There's this. So where we sat with the dropouts then. Sammy, with who have we lost in the last 24 hours?
Well, KH Lee's had a kid, so he's out. Hideki has had COVID for what seems to be like a month now. He's out. Matt Wolff, ranked 39th in the world, has pulled out of the event again.
Doesn't like playing.
So he's not he's not played the Masters or the I want to say the USPGA. I might be wrong on that. Siwoo Kim wants to dial in on the Olympics, so playing against the world best in a major competition doesn't seem to be floating his boat.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Cameron Davis getting married, other priorities. That you know, again, these things are in the diary. Bubba Watson hit by contact tracing. Danny Lee, no idea. And here's the real shock. David Duval backed out last minute.
Really?
Who?
David Duval.
No.
Won at Lytham in 2001, didn't he?
I know.
Oh, well.
He was a certain for an each way.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have been at least 500. It would have been a good.
But
when you literally get your chest,
that is pretty crazy.
When you get your chest 180 degrees open at impact, and your face is literally looking at the target by the time you make impact. I mean, you're a law unto yourself at that point, aren't you? Because the bloke is just an
Do you not think
absolute
that there are quite a few there? And I know there's a few COVID things in there and stuff, but particularly the Siwoo Kim, I find interesting.
Yeah, that is utter nonsense from Siwoo Kim.
Yeah.
David Duval, I think he shot 92 last time he played the Open at Royal Portrush.
Yeah, I think that's a fair
which
point.
Is,
but Matt Wolf, I really struggle to understand when you're at that level, when you've got a pretty short career span. Yeah. Why would you want to take yourself out of extremely high level competitive golf? Surely that's why these guys do it for a living. The Matt Wolf for me just jumps off the page. Like, I just don't get it.
He's not in a good space this year, is he?
No.
It seemed like he'd come back from, was it Torrey Pines where he made his comeback? Is that right?
Yeah.
In the US Open
after injury, wasn't it?
After a couple of months of just sort of soul searching, for want of a better term. Weird, yeah, really weird.
But there's also, I suppose, for someone like Wolf, this is complete conjecture, but that's the way we like it on this podcast. It's a long way to come for one tournament, isn't it? Like,
he's got exemption to play the Scottish. He could have played the Irish if he wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, he might just think,
I just find it surprising seeing that many names. A few of them are on the fence for me, and a few of them are, clearly out of their hands. Things like COVID, Hideki, for instance. But it is what it is, isn't it? I think I get the sense that amongst the players, there's a little bit of resentment towards the Open just because of the 32,000 spectators and the restrictions they've got in the bubble. And being in the UK, I suppose, to an extent, I can kind of sympathise. From Monday, we have absolutely no social distancing restrictions in place whatsoever. But, Ricky Fowler can't come over with his entourage of people that he would usually travel with. And I suppose, to an extent, I think there's a little bit of resentment there amongst the players, if I'm being really honest, reading between the lines. And
I think the American players in particular. I mean, I'm fascinated to see how Bryson DeChambeau gets on. This is the first time he's going to be putting that new game of his to a links test. Really, that's the first time we're going to see it exposed to hopefully a bit of wind and some interesting conditions. And I think it'll be fascinating to see how he gets on. But George's is in particular. I know the point you make there, Sam, about like the Open just being a tricky one. Anyway, it's kind of like a lot of the American players are trying to figure out how to make their game appropriate for one event a year, literally one links test a year. But George's in particular, I think, is just not a course that a professional would really, really enjoy playing all that much.
Why is that?
I mean, we'd think it's great, but there are quite a few blind tee shots, and okay, the reality is, if you're one of the best players in the world, if you are literally a world-class golfer, you should be able to suck it up and hit a shot, a blind shot, and commit to it and know if it's going to be a good tee shot. But I think a lot of them want something that's kind of out in front of them and they can see everything and they have a fairly flat lie and everything's fairly controlled and taken care of. Royal St George's didn't really offer that. There's a lot of quirk and eccentricity.
I mean, I would have said eccentricity, but
yeah, and I don't know. I mean, clearly there's quite fabulous stretch of holes, isn't it, on the front nine? Is it 4, 5, and 6? And you've got a pretty tough stretch coming home. And talking to Paul again, a lot of moisture. You're going to have really thick rough, like it's going to be juicy, and it's not like Winged Foot or whatever. No. So Winged Foot, you've got fairway first cut, and then you've got massively thick, chewy spinach to play out of everywhere else. I don't think it's quite like that when you play links course, because you've got the rough that's going to be thick and heavy, but then you go into the dunes, you go kind of completely off piste.
The Festuca.
It's totally dead, isn't it? So it's
and there's flyers as well, as you said. The spinach at Winged Foot, it's like just gouge it out. But particularly with like links grass, you can get a flyer fairly easily off a a lie that maybe isn't that far from the fairway, and you could just easily just bazooka an 8-iron 200 yards over the back of a green and just find yourself in real difficulty. And I think there's plenty of holes at Royal St George's where the fairways are uneven again. I mean, it's renowned for being very, very different to a Royal Birkdale where it's all out in front of you. You've got fairly flat fairways and the dunes kind of frame each hole, whereas George's, you kind of got dunes crashing through some of the holes and very, very undulating fairways that are just, again, require an adjustment. So maybe that's playing into some of the psychology there with the American players. It would be nice if, to see him really embrace the challenge for what it is, which is a totally different test to any other that they face throughout the year.
I'm going to put my neck on the line here and say I don't think Bryson's game will stomach.
Stack up.
So I don't think it's a formula that's going to work this week. I'll just put that out there. Let's take that as read. We're obviously going to go towards picks. We're obviously going to think about players. I find it really hard to pick anyone that looks like they've got the whole package going into this. I mean, clearly they all do in some respects, but you know what I mean? They've all got things where you sort of think, okay, there's a little bit of this that you worry about. I thought John Rahm struggled a little bit with the putter up in Scotland. He's probably the best form player that's going in there. I think it could be a really exciting and quite a wide open event. Have you guys got any players that you think, oh yeah, okay, I'll have a few quid on these guys?
Well, I think one of the biggest storylines with George's as well is that the last two winners it's produced have been rank outsiders. Like Darren Clarke in 2011, in the twilight of his career, and I don't think that's disrespectful to say at all, was an absolute stalwart of the European Ryder Cup team.
I think if you have to say you don't think it's disrespectful, it probably means it's disrespectful.
That's factually I think you'd agree with that. To be fair, he talks about maybe John Huggan or someone writing about him being a washed-up pro and needing to retire is giving him some inspiration. So, clearly it's on his mind as well that he was, a few years past his best, but held off, DJ and Ricky Fowler and a few of the others to win. And then 2003 got Ben Curtis. So I guess a lot of people are thinking, well, is this a course that could just produce underdog winners? And if you go with that line of thinking, it really is wide open, isn't it, Sam?
Yeah. I think it's. I think you got to start looking at some players who maybe don't hit as far. People who are good grinders. I know these names have come up on the podcast before, and I know this is going to be the. Here we go. Kisner. We're talking about Palmetto in the US, but of course, someone like a Kevin Kisner.
I literally called it, didn't I? Literally called it.
So, but I'll chuck you a few other names because I was speaking to a friend of the pod today. I'm not going to say who. The guy knows his numbers. He's got his finger on the pulse with these things. He put a few names out to me. The most surprising one, Stuart Sink.
Yeah, well, he's been playing really well.
So I said Stuart Sink could go really well. In form, thinks he could go well there this week. Chucked in the Corey Connors thing again. I was like, yeah, okay, I can probably see that. Do you know who my sort of outside one here? Matt Fitzpatrick. He flies under the radar forever. He's played golf in and around the UK for pretty much most of his life. He's a great grinder. He doesn't hit the ball a mile, but he's deathly accurate. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say Matt Fitzpatrick for a top 10 this week.
Yeah, I think that's good. There's another one. I mean, considering he's just coming off the back of a victory. Min Woo Lee's got really, really long odds. Like 140. Really? I mean...
Yeah, they always struggle to follow it up,
I'm just not sure he's got the nous either for a quirky test like George's. Just not sure.
I like my short, my medium, my long. I'm going to go Min Woo Lee for long at 150. Why not? But I tell you what, for my mid one, for my sort of for an each way, but Brandon Grace would be a good one for this.
Yeah, I like the Tom Mills strategy of back the South Africans in the majors. I actually do think there's some credence there.
55 to 1, Brandon Grace. I'm like, I do think the South Africans, I often get the wrong South African, but there's always South African in the top 10. It's just, they just grind well. And I reckon Brandon Grace. And the obvious, well, it's not obvious, but he's like one of the favourites. But you can't look far past Justin Thomas, can you? Dude's playing very well.
Yeah.
Major winner, proven performer. He's come out. He's got some links golf under his belt, ready to go with a Renaissance this week. Did well, top 10. I think he's going to do well.
I like that a lot. You know, I mean, Gareth Hicko as well, another possible good South African. I like the short, medium, long. Bruce, give us yours.
Patrick Cantley, heard it here first.
We've heard it here 100 times.
Patrick
Bruce.
Cantley is that one where comes up as like, you'll never guess who's. He's like, mate, he's been top 10
He's
in the world.
7th in the world, yeah.
For about 10 years.
That's
since he
Bruce's
was
long.
born.
We're now going to go into medium. Go on.
Who is that? Your short,
Okay,
medium, or long?
So that's your short. That's your short bet.
I'd love Louis Oosthuizen. I really would love Louis to do it. I think, you know, there's, again, that hateful
Not a
line
bad
that
shout.
you trotted out post US Open, Sam. Absolutely reprehensible turn of phrase. Bridesmaid, never the bride at Torrey Pines. I'd love it if Louis could just prove, you know, disrespectful doubters like yourself wrong and bring home another Open. So
Won it before and
Louis
romped
Oosthuizen,
to victory.
yeah,
if
just
if
got
if
unflappable
memory serves me
tempo.
right.
It looks like. And then
So he's your medium.
yeah, he's my medium at 13th in the world. And then my long is going to be, I think,
Tension is palpable here.
okay, it's one of the S's. It's either Sergio could just find a rich vein of form.
Yeah, okay, I like that.
And has played links golf, won, you know, on links tracks before, could maybe just recapture some boyhood memories and shot making and win. Or slightly rogue one, Shane Lowry, back it up.
No.
Been 2 years. No, good shot maker. If it gets windy, it plays into his hands because, you know,
He
he's
literally has
just
been on a
bit of an
2-year
artist.
bender since the last
He's not
Open.
really though. Like,
No,
he's
that's
actually
unfair.
he's
That's
actually shown
unfair.
some
He's
good
now
form
got
in
some
recent
form.
months. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
100%.
yeah, thanks for coming.
No, I like Shane Lowry. He's definitely got it. 100% he can do it. But do you think has he got some form recently, Shane?
Oh yeah, without doubt. So he's coming in. I mean, didn't do great in the Irish. I mean, like
Tied
T23,
23rd.
he probably wanted a bit better. You know, made the cut in the US Open, T6 at Memorial, T4 in the PGA,
Okay.
T9 RBC Heritage. These are pretty
It's almost
solid
like he's reading right
performances.
down the official world golf ranking page, actually.
Yeah. Well, you know, sometimes I don't know every result that Shane Lowry's had in the last few weeks, mate. But you know, that's pretty solid. And I agree with you, Bruce. He's got genuine ability out on the links in difficult conditions. Portrush was really challenging for periods of time that weekend.
Yeah, he's a shot maker.
And actually, with Portrush, I mean, you don't get much more pressure than that doing it. I mean,
Front of a
it
home
wasn't
crowd.
quite home, but it was home. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's home
in the
crowd.
Isle of Duval, and he smashed it. And you know, like Rory couldn't handle that pressure, and Shane has gone out and got it done. And there's a lot to be said for that. So yeah.
And you're joking a little bit about the Kisner thing, but he is actually showing a little bit of form. I know you guys hate to admit it. I'm going to come in with my one.
Is it Nicholas Colsaert?
One kind of. No, it's not Nicholas Colsaert. Laird Shepherd to make the cut. I'm going to be pulling for that in a big way.
Yeah, that would
Rye
be-
member, used to playing a lot of golf on the South Coast. He will know St George's really well over every faith. I think there's a really good chance he could make the cut there in his first major, which I think that'd be a hell of a result for him.
I'll tell you what else is going to be quite interesting in that respect, and I'm probably going to be corrected, but it's probably the first time that two amateur winners will be in the same Open.
Oh, yeah.
Because you got Joe Long there as well, because obviously he missed the last one, because it wasn't the last one. So that'll be interesting to see how those two fare off, because it's basically like a mano a mano of recent amateur winners, isn't it?
Yeah, and the silver medal's quite a big, certainly a prestigious event to win, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I wonder, in fact, I wonder how many amateurs are playing this year in total.
Not sure, but Sam, we can't skim by this because you're heading proceedings. What's your short, medium, and long?
I mean, I don't know. We're not really put definitions around it. Short, I'd be going Rahm all day. Rahm looks, he's playing the best golf out of the top 5 in the world, isn't he? So, I mean, John Rahm all day there. Definitely Fitzpatrick would be medium, and if you'd allow it, I would be saying Stuart Sink as the long. But I mean, Stuart Sink's still punching well into the world top 50 rankings. He's playing really
He's
good golf.
140 to 1 though. Sink.
Yeah, exactly. And isn't that just crazy when you think coming in with that type of form? I'm going to come in with a little bit of niche knowledge here. So Joel Darman was playing a little bit of golf down at Deal a few days ago and played with a friend of the podcast and someone who won the club championships there yesterday, Peter Hancock down at Rawsing Ports. So obviously he was at the mixer. Yeah, so he won the club championships on Sunday and played with Joel Darman around his home track at Deal on Saturday. I thought, what a weekend he's had. But yeah, that,
good prep. Yeah, I was going to say good prep before the club champs on the Sunday.
For Joel Darman or for Peter Hancock.
What's the Deal format? Is that 36 holes straight play?
Don't know the club championship format at Deal, but done very, very well to win it. But I do think, seeing these people like, Joel Darman going in, putting in quite a bit of prep down there and stuff, I think that's quite interesting.
Nice, yeah.
Maybe he could feature as the long if you wouldn't permit Stuart Singh, because again, he's someone who, you always watch the leaderboards and you think he's usually there. He usually features. You know what I mean? He's very consistent, bit of a walking ATM, kind of constantly posting decent results week on week.
Yeah, I like that. I do like that call because it also fits with the theme of a bit of an unknown winner at George's, which we've seen the last couple of times. So, and maybe could be like a great springboard for his career, because he seems like a very, very genuine, like sort of down to earth guy and a hell of a player as well. So, yeah, I can get behind that. I can definitely get behind that.
If we're just getting behind good lads, and we've got to just get behind Harry Higgs. Harry Higgs for the Open. He's not in it, but.
Yeah, I think that's punchy. I think that is a little punchy, Tom, to be honest with you.
That kind of commentary sets this podcast back months in terms of
put us
credibility.
Back into the dark age. That's not getting in there either.
I'll put it in. I'll stand by. I immediately backed it up with the fact he's not in it, but let's just go with that anyway. But
other news around St George's? Is there any other kind of news or any other kind of spicy topics? So, I mean, just in terms of other tidbits, I wouldn't mind just spending a couple of minutes on the varsity, Bruce. We've had a couple of complaints from the newsletter article you did under the cookie crumb section. Someone said it was very one-sided vitriol written clearly by an ex-Oxford alum. You went down and spent a couple of days caddying down at Aldborough, which looks really cool. How was that and how was the event?
Yeah, it was good. I'd urge anyone to go and check out that newsletter because... yeah, I think it would take a madman to think that my written word was in any way partisan or biased. But yeah, it was great viewing. Like, varsity match normally is held in March, but obviously with COVID restrictions and so on, postponed to July over at Aldborough, which was the pick of last year's Cambridge captain. And first time I'd seen it, like hell of a golf course. What a test that is. 6,600 yards, par 68. Just really should be a par 71 by all accounts. Pretty penal off the tee. So like if you started sort of carving driver, you were going to be reloading. Really good match play course for that reason. Stroke play is probably a different matter. Especially with the wind up. Like the first day, apparently I wasn't there, but on the foursomes it was gusting at 45 miles an hour. So
Jesus.
Yeah, like really good, like really good close fought match. 7.5 all draw, and yeah, played in good spirits. Quick play. 36 holes foursomes on one day, 36 holes singles on the other.
What happens in that? Did Oxford retain the title? Is that how it works? Or?
Just called a tie. Yeah, it's just called drawn match. So yeah,
but it was crazy results, wasn't it? I mean, I heard reports of 8 winning holes. We've heard there was some big upsets as well. There's some really good golfers, and there's some people who are in the ascendancy with their golf career as well, and kind of it can be a bit of a mixed bag, can't it? I mean,
it's a high pressure situation, and I think that's what a lot of people, a lot of amateurs, that's probably like the most kind of pressure that you'd play under with a big, but if you're in one of the last matches out and everyone kind of congregates around your match, you might get 100 odd people watching. And when you throw the wind into it and a tricky sort of inland links course like Aldborough, and just the pressure of it, some weird shit happens. And there was a hole won in 8 on the 36th hole, in fact. So it was the match was won with an 8th on the 36th hole. which was just mental viewing. I wasn't there sadly, but I was hearing reports of it in the car on the way over. So yeah, just proper proper amateur match play golf.
Well, that's the thing. I think amateur match play golf. It's like watching, second division football or championship rugby. There's so much more variability and so much more. Like when you're watching like the best players in the world do their thing, it's a bit sort of samey. But when you watch a bit of amateur golf, it's like literally anything can happen. It's good stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, we've all been there, haven't we? Like we've all been in those sort of situations.
And Aldeburgh looks great as well. I mean, Aldeburgh as a place just looks great.
Yeah.
I've heard you can absolutely thread the needle with your drive. It's gorse everywhere, isn't it?
No par
And
fives.
like you say, no par fives. There's just literally no relent when you're playing a course like that.
Yeah.
It's just, you've got to just keep stepping up and executing.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to have fun if you're not a great golfer around there and it's windy. Like,
No.
I'm sorry, that's just the reality of it. But I mean, I'd love to go and play it and play it for myself and see what it's like. And I think actually a big takeaway was just how friendly the club was. Like they seemed really, really delighted to host the varsity match there. Really, really welcoming and just a really friendly membership who were all out there watching and asking how the different teams are getting on and following it round. So it's nice when you have a club like that that's so supportive of like these old like historic fixtures in amateur golf. I mean, I didn't realise this until I played it, but I think it's the oldest match in amateur golf and probably the second oldest event after the Leven Gold Medal. So yeah, great fun.
Well,
Nice.
We won't
Good.
have to get the story of a golf club at Aldeburgh, but
Is this our first bit of business development?
Which
Yeah.
pivots nicely to the fire we have just dropped on YouTube, which is Cruden Bay
Episode 5.
episode. Yeah, at least
Five
yeah.
of the old Tom Travis. I must admit, I thought the Cruden Bay story was good, really good actually. Not in terms of the film, obviously. I think all the films are great, but it's actually a really nice story, isn't
Oh,
it?
it's epic.
And that was something I didn't know going in, which was a pretty neat kind of insight, I guess, into the club and everything else. It was a very nice
Yeah,
little story,
I mean,
actually.
And I edit these films pretty quickly, and then I watched it back when it released at 7 p.m. tonight. And although Sam Cooper, Links from the Van, is the goat of drones, I mean, the shots of Cruden Bay are like, it is such a dramatic golf course when you look at it with the sunset, and it's just like, I watched it back this afternoon. I was like, yeah, that looks like a great golf course.
Yeah, I think if you had the camera switched on, it was always going to be a success. That one, to be honest with you,
It's
because
a
you
great
just wave it
looking
anyway.
golf
With
course.
drama. Yeah.
And if you haven't checked it out, please do head across to YouTube, check it out. It's a great story, great golf course.
Tell you what I also
Les,
liked.
great general manager.
Tell you what I also liked with the film was the soundtrack. Bit of drum and bass.
Bit of soft drum and bass.
Just a little bit more upbeat and loved that. I was a real
silky.
fan, so I wonder
Silky.
whether
Great
that's
vibes.
a popular sentiment or whether I'm just
I mean, I don't know whether we can just
reading it. But
shoehorn some jazz in. I'm just going through genres.
yeah, absolutely.
Like, for
have
fun
no
here.
circumstances whatsoever. If there's jazz in a story of a golf club film, I'm leaving Cookie Jar.
You heard it
It's a
first.
red line. You've heard it first.
You heard it first.
Bruce has delivered an ultimatum to the jar.
All I've got to do is get jazz in, and we've got rid of Sir Bruce. So that has been. I mean, we've gone over a little bit of our time. We don't like to pod much longer than 40 minutes, but we are on fire, so we can't really help it today. Please do keep your eyes and ears peeled on YouTube, and of course, see if our picks have done any good. Which, by our previous performances, none of them will make the cut.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's steady. I think there's. It's quite exciting listening to
we've
those
thrown
picks there.
9 out, so we've got like a 10% chance.
We've gone for spread. Yeah, we've just gone for like real spread.
And
here.
Sam's gone for John Rahm, so we should have
Yeah.
at least some shot up getting up there.
And we will be podding live on Sunday night.
Oh, that we can do, actually. Yeah, we can pod live on Sunday
can
night.
pod.
Because it's the first one that's actually in our time zone.
Yeah.
Perfect. So,
So okay.
until then, we will see you next time.
Watch
Adios.
this.